is, okay, Robin, you're going to have to pronounce her last name. I'm sorry. I should have gotten that from you already, but
It's okay. It's Robin Aleksevitch, which it's a
Aleksevitch.
mouthful. It's a mouthful. Yeah.
Yes. Where does that, is it European?
Ukrainian. Yeah.
Ukrainian? Wow, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. Okay. And so let me tell you a little bit about our friend, our new friend. And I just got to meet you just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So you are my new
Absolutely.
friend. So Robin's been a registered nurse for over 38 years and has worked as a nurse in cardiac, behavioral, and school nursing. She's seen the impact stress plays on the body, mind, and spirit. Over the last 10 years, she began a journey of holistic wellness and saw the importance of proactive self-care to help reduce stress in the body. The question is, what if people could stop a disease process by learning better ways to deal with stress? And that kept coming up for her. Biofeedback was the answer. Robin received her certification as a biofeedback specialist in 2019 and began Renew Biofeedback. It's so funny that the name of your business is so close to Cindy's business, which is Renew.
Right.
Yes, that's cool. So biofeedback, she'll tell us more about what it is and how it works. And you are located physically. Tell us, do you see clients?
I am located physically right outside of Louisville, Kentucky, and I do my practice in a farm. It's a neat holistic farm.
And I'm glad that we mentioned, for those who missed it, we mentioned what distance healing is about. And I also introduced the idea of biofeedback earlier today when we were talking about vital body versus quantum body. And so I'm assuming you have a quantum biofeedback system.
I do have a quantum biofeedback system. And it was so funny as I was preparing my notes for this, I was not going to go to the realm of distance because it's always a hard thing to lead with, especially when you are educating people about what biofeedback is. But I do have some scientific backing for that. So when I get to that part, I'm going to add that. You know,
we already yes, you can see you've got an advanced audience.
Yeah, I feel like it's okay. It's okay that I can add it. And I'm going to go ahead and screen share. Thank you for having me here. I have been thrilled to be with you all a part of these 4 days. And I really resonated a lot with what Tamara said. And with her system, I just wanted to say really quickly that she talked about, I have some clients that are going to do well with that iTerra care because they're chronic clients. So what do you give a client when they can't afford to do biofeedback or they're optimized, right? They need to be doing some stuff at home that's affordable. So I love that. I have chills. I know I was loved
for good things.
Yeah, I loved it. So today I'm going to talk about biofeedback, which I think we already know that. But what I wanted to start with is what I like about where I'm at within my biofeedback practice is it really is a part of a proactive self-care. And what so many other practitioners talked about these last 4 days is different modalities as we help people on their healing journey. So I'm happy to be a part of that. And let's start with what is biofeedback. I honestly, the first 2 years that I practiced biofeedback, I don't know if Cristine can relate to this, it was hard to explain what is biofeedback. I tripped over my tongue a lot. I wasn't sure how to educate people on it. So I, with my nursing background, really looked towards the science to help explain it. And that's what I'd like to share with you today. Biofeedback is a non-invasive therapy. It's a class 2 medical device. It's FDA approved. And it's used to treat stress management, stress reduction, pain management, and muscle reeducation. That's usually how I approach people when I talk to them. But I really wanted to go deeper into what biofeedback is. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. It balances the body, causing homeostasis in the body so the body can function better. We know in a healthy body, all cells operate at their ideal frequency, just as nature intends it. In a body that's unbalanced, stressed, some cells vibrate differently and they emit electrical magnetic waves that are not optimal. Quantum biofeedback comes down to exploring different frequencies that the human body operates on, and it educates those frequencies if needed. Biofeedback explores the causes, what's causing a person's health problems. It finds the cause of the imbalance, then it searches for energetic disturbances. In the quantum biofeedback device that I have, it looks at over 15,000 volumetric signatures in the body to see where we're holding stress. And it'll even look at like your heart rate, muscle tension, brain waves that signal stress. And I'll go a little deeper into that in a minute. We know that the quantum biofeedback can re-educate the frequencies, right, at which the body operates. And then it sends an electromagnetic loop, a loop wave through the body to rebalance with frequencies of certain cells and helping those cells to return to their balanced state. How are they doing this? It's really through frequency. So what is frequency? According to Robert O. Becker, in the book, The Body Electric, the human body has an electrical frequency, and that much about a person's health can be determined by it. Frequency is the measurable rate of electrical energy flow that is constant between 2 points. Everything has energy and everything has frequency. What I loved about that is that we know that everything has a vibration. The biofeedback system goes in through frequencies to optimize cells at a cellular level. I'm going to take you a little deeper as we go into now look at biofeedback as it works in the body with frequencies. We know that cells in our body resonate with certain patterns and special functions. Our cells network together to keep our body in harmony. Stress produces erratic vibrations that affect the frequencies in our body, disrupting our healthy body processes. As the subtle frequency signals that are emitted during biofeedback stimulate a balancing response at a cellular level, and these signals have different frequencies. This causes a ripple effect in the body, and what I've seen with my clients is that as I optimize certain parts of their body with frequencies, they start to feel better, and it does the ripple effect. So we're going to go a step further, and I love, I think so many other practitioners have quoted Tesla and Albert Einstein. I love these quotes of theirs. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Albert Einstein said, everything is energy, and that's all there is. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. There can be no other way. We know that everything has a vibrational frequency, including us, including trees and environment. And that's how I start to explain biofeedback to my clients. It is based on frequency. And what is frequency? I think, Cristine, you talked about Dr. Royal Rife. And he was kind of in that forefront of looking at different frequencies and how they can impact the body and how we can restore the body. He developed a basic principle called coordinative resonance, which is if I have one tuning fork and I sound it, the other tuning fork picks up the frequency. That explains how frequencies can then pass through cells without causing any damage to cells. He also found that every disease has a frequency. He's discovered that certain frequencies can even prevent the development of disease and that others would destroy diseases. Substances of higher frequency will destroy diseases of lower frequency. I love that my biofeedback system has Rife codes in it. So if there are instances where I need to go and I need to stimulate a response in the body, I can use those Rife codes to help the client in part of their session. Now, let's go one step further. In 1992, Bruce Tianio developed the first frequency monitor to look at different frequencies. And what he found was that the human body, the brain resonates at megahertz frequencies from 71 to 90. And somebody else had talked about this. I think it was Tamara. I was really resonating with you with a lot of things that you were saying, Tamara, as it relates to your the light protons, I think it was called. But we know that as we get sick, we are stressed, our frequencies in our bodies start to drop. And as they drop, that also our bodies become acidic. So, and especially if you notice here, like with flu, with COVID, our bodies can't recover. So when we know that also what we eat, our environment has a huge impact on raising frequency. So canned foods have zero vibrational frequency, healthy foods. So many practitioners talked about what we put into our body makes an impact. Dry herbs have a positive frequency. Fresh herbs have a positive frequency. Essential oils and even crystals. So one of the things that I like to talk to my clients about is as I go in and work with them, if they're stressed, their frequency has dropped in their body, and sometimes they can't recover on their own. So the biofeedback system can go in, send frequencies to the body, and help optimize the body to function better. We go to the next slide. Here, this is just another slide of studies that were shown that different organs have frequencies too. There was a study that was done about 2 men, and we know that the average frequency of the human body is around 66, right? They took 2 men, one held a coffee in his hand, and when he held the coffee in his hand, within 3 seconds, his body frequency dropped to 58. The other man drank the coffee, and his body frequency dropped to 52 in 3 seconds. So we're always exposed to frequencies, and it makes a difference on all of these proactive self-cares that we had talked about even through this 4-day conference. The other thing I wanted to point out is our thoughts have a frequency. And this really went to what Vinny was saying about studies show that negative thoughts can lower our frequency by 12 megahertz. Positive thoughts can raise frequency by 10 megahertz. They also found that prayer and meditation increased the measured frequency levels by 15 megahertz. There really is power in prayer and meditation. And that all links to the Schumann Resonance. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. When a client comes in and I work with them in a biofeedback session, we really have an honest talk about what are they saying to themselves. And if they're struggling with some emotional stuff, the negative self-talk, and they can't get out of it, our words matter. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that when I talk about Dr. Emoto in a minute. One of the things that I wanted to talk about here was about healing frequencies of the body and why that's so important. I don't know if any of you have heard of solfeggio frequencies. I don't think that came up in any of the talks today, but my biofeedback system has solfeggio frequencies in it in the neurolinguistic panel. And solfeggio frequencies refer to specific tones of sound that help with and promote various aspects of the body and mind health. These frequencies are found to date back to ancient history, and they're said to be the fundamental sounds used in both Western Christianity and Eastern Indian religions. They were chanted by Gregorian monks and even in ancient Indian and Tibetan Sanskrit chants. What's important about the solfeggio frequencies is in 1970, Dr. Joseph Puleo rediscovered solfeggio frequencies and the benefits of them. What he found was that especially these solfeggio frequencies that are on the left correlate with chakras in our body. And we know through ancient Chinese medicine that we need to open all of the meridians in our chakras to get energy flow through the body. There was lots of research done with solfeggio frequencies to see with the connection to the conscious and subconscious mind in order to stimulate healing and promote vitality. So what I loved about this is there are, when I work with my clients through the neurolinguistic panel, there are several solfeggio frequencies that help with guilt and fear. There's a miracle frequency for DNA, which is 528 hertz. And what they found with the 528 hertz was that it made significant impact at a DNA cellular level. And they experimented with that by playing the 528 solfeggio frequency. And what they found was that they looked at a cell, it was had some degeneration, and after they listened to the solfeggio frequency music, those cells started to revitalize. There was some work done, a study done in Japan that discovered that the frequencies that 528 reduced stress in the endocrine system and the autonomic nervous system, and had huge benefits for healing. In order to understand solfeggio frequencies and the impact that they make, they we need to talk about the Schumann resonance. And I don't know how many of you, I can't see the screen, have ever heard of the Schumann resonance. Now, the Schumann resonance is German physicist in 1952 discovered the Schumann resonance. And of course, his name was Winfried Schumann. What he found was that there was documented electromagnetic resonance existing between the Earth's surface and the ionosphere. And that electrically charged part of the Earth was activated by lightning hitting the Earth. And what they found was that is the heartbeat of the Earth. And that resonance frequency is what everything resonates from that. So the Schumann resonance is essentially the healing resonance of the earth. That's why they will say, go out and ground yourself with the earth. It raises your vibrational energy. That all stems from the Schumann resonance. So what we know now is the Schumann resonance has created the solfeggio frequencies, and they all are on those same level of frequency healing. One of the things that drew me to the Schumann resonance is when I go in to do a biofeedback session, the first thing I do is activate the Schumann resonance in my system. And in essence, it allows coherent biomagnetic emissions from the Schumann resonance, allow frequencies to enter into the cells and tissues and to connect with our brain waves. Another scientist came later and discovered that our brain waves all sync to the Schumann resonance, which is pretty mind-blowing, right? So what I know a lot of, I think what Tamara talked about, what Vinny was talking about, all link back to that Schumann resonance. And what I wanted to say with that is there was a section in the book that I have that talked about energy healers. And what it said is that evidence has shown that when strong biomagnetic fields of the Schumann resonance are projected from the hands of practitioners, like in therapeutic touch, in Qigong, in Reiki, that those are stimulated because as we connect with the Schumann resonance, it affects our brain waves. And then the brain waves bring the sensitivity to fingertips, and that helps to magnify the potential of our healing within the body, which is pretty amazing. I have a great book, and I wasn't going to go there, but this, I worked with a chiropractor once and trained him on biofeedback, and he loved the science. So he'd find the book and he'd go, oh my gosh. And it really validated the Schumann resonance. But what I wanted to do is share with people that you were talking about quickly about how our frequencies and energy can go distance. Well, what's mind-blowing is, and I don't know the answer to this, that when Tamara talked about scalar waves, there's a section in this book that talks about an autoscalar wave. And I was only familiar with it because I also activate that in my biofeedback system before I do a session. But I was going to read this really quickly. It says, for the evolution of energetic body work and energy medicine, a number of important consequences are emerging from research on scalar waves. Each bioelectric and biomagnetic field produced by the human body, whether emitted by the brain, the heart, the eye, the muscles, or an organ, or by the hand or the therapist or an energy practitioner, they use Qigong, will be associated with scalar waves and vector potentials. Then it goes on to say, near field interactions occur when the interacting elements, such as the therapist and patient, are close enough to their energy fields, which abruptly drop off in strength and distance. That's what gives us the interaction and the connectedness we feel with our patient-client connection. However, he says, a large and growing body of reliable evidence shows that intercessory prayer is effective, even when the patients and those praying for them are separated by great distance. So part of how our prayer, meditation, distance healing works is because it's carried through the scalar wave, because we are putting intention into that for that direction of where it's to go, which is pretty fascinating. I wasn't going to go there, but I thought you might enjoy that. Can you see it? It's called energetic medicine, the scientific basis. But this book I love because it really explains it, and there's so much more in here. I only touched a titch of the iceberg with that. Now, the other thing I wanted to do was talk about Dr. Emoto's work, because that goes back to the power of words, but it also goes back to water. And we know that our body is 60% water. When we're a child, it's around 80%. So hydration is so important, because as I use frequency medicine and I go in with my biofeedback system, if my clients aren't hydrated, their cells can't absorb the frequencies that we need them to have an effective session. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is our words matter, right? And how we think and talk matter. And I know a lot of you are probably very familiar with Dr. Emoto's work. What he did was he did studies with water. And for example, he would say negative things to some water, right? And then like they would be on a cell phone or heavy metal music or you make me sick. And what they did is they froze the water, then they sliced it and looked at through these photographs, and they found that that water was ugly and distorted. And then they looked at water where people are in harmony. I love you, listening to Beethoven's musical symphonies, going back to solfeggio frequencies, Beethoven, Mozart, all of these famous musicians, they composed their music all in solfeggio frequencies. And all of those had these beautiful snowflakes. And there is a woman, and I love that when he talked about that, Vera, that is continuing Dr. Emoto's work, and it is phenomenal. She's done some amazing podcasts, and just looking at how our water is living, and it's living in our cells, but it's also living out in the world, and what an impact that can make by how we're talking to ourselves and how we're dealing with unhealthy water. And she said something, and I don't know where my time is, but that one of the ways it all starts with gratitude for healing, and that if we don't have healthy water, but we bless the water, it immediately changes the chemical structure of water that we drink by simply just blessing the water. But her podcast is amazing. So I wanted to go on. Dr. Emoto said water has memory, carries with it our thoughts and prayers, and we ourselves are water. No matter where you are, your thoughts and prayers will be carried to the rest of the world through water, which is pretty amazing. Now, let's go back to how that correlates with biofeedback, right? We know that the World Health Organization deems stress the #1 cause of disease. And a new study shows that disease starts as stress in the body. And this diagram, so many of you talked about stress and the effects it has on the body, but these are usually why someone comes to me for biofeedback. They're having symptoms, insomnia, headache, racing heart, high blood pressure. They have lost that zest for life. They are so exhausted. So they come to me and we start to assess them on the biofeedback system to see how can I optimize parts of their body for them to feel better. I also wanted to do a shout out to Louise Hay. You know, Louise Hay would say that all dis-ease in the body starts with an emotion, right? And we hold that into our body. And we know, I know all of us know that a lot of times the disease process starts as an emotion that we have held in the body. And one of the things I love with biofeedback is it looks at mind, body, spirit. And I can go in, I've gone in through the physical realm to help clients. I've gone in through the emotion. And sometimes I've gone in through the emotion. And guess what? It helps restore the physical part of the body. So it is kind of a fun dance as I go in there, right? With biofeedback, like we all do as clinicians. How can we best help our clients that come to see us? Because we're all in this to make the world better and people to feel better. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of this, but it's a slide on the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. So much information was given, which I loved, about how in our world we are staying in fight or flight. And our body was designed to go into fight or flight, activate our sympathetic nervous system. We run out, we save our child that ran in front of the car, and then we're supposed to go back to parasympathetic nervous system. Well, our society has gotten so out of control. We've all overextended ourselves, and now most people live in exhaustion and they stay in fight or flight. And I pulled this slide up really to trigger my memory that one of the first things I do with new clients is there's a great program in my system that helps to balance and restore the vagus nerve, sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. And when I go in and I restore that, sending those restorative frequencies at that cellular level, guess what? My clients gasp, they sigh, and I can see right before my eyes them being able to release. And you know what? They say it, they feel it. I haven't felt this relaxed in years. So the amazing thing about frequencies is it goes in when sometimes we're so stressed, we can't do it. I just as a quick slide about the gut microbiome, so much was talked about that and the importance of it in healing. I love personally what Hippocrates said, all disease begins within the gut. So a lot of times in my first session, I go in to restore the digestive system. And there's some great programs in biofeedback that restore the digestive system, helps to restore microbiome, the gut microbiome. But we also know, and I think so many people had talked about the connection with the vagus nerve and how the vagus nerve's connection with the hypothalamus pituitary. And then it makes this circle loop around, because if our gut microbiome isn't healthy, we can't absorb the nutrients to make the amazing amino acid tryptophan that makes the amazing neurotransmitter serotonin that links back to our mood. So within the biofeedback system, I can start to optimize that for my clients. And then they can go to other clinicians they work with maybe healthy diet. Are they taking good supplements? So that is a wonderful way that we can all work together to show that it's not just one thing that helps our clients to get better. It's multiple things. But sometimes if the digestive system is so run down, it can't even absorb nutrients, the biofeedback system will send those results, those frequencies in to help restore it quicker, so that whatever else they're doing will see quicker results. Now, I just wanted to quickly talk about the brain. We know there are lots of studies out now that talk about trauma and stress affect our brain. It can enlarge certain parts of the brain and can affect our brain waves. One of the things that my system has is it will look at brain harmonics. So it will balance the right and left side of the brain, which also balances the occipital, frontal, temporal lobes of the brain. It's wonderful for fog, when mental clarity, and so many of my clients had brain fog from COVID, and it really boosts their brain waves. And there's some other programs that we have that are work on brain waves and helps to optimize brainwaves for people that have focus problems with attention. And then this is what a session looks like when you come to my office. I really want it to be an experience. People are tired, they're exhausted. They lay down. I have amazing solfeggio music playing because I want to optimize them as much as I can. Then they're hooked up to sensors. They're on their forehead, wrists, and ankles. And then we go in, we ask a multitude of questions. I run the test. We look at risk profile, and then we start to chip away at what is going on with their body and what programs I can run. My sessions usually last 90 minutes. There are 100 of different programs within the biofeedback system. And how are we with time? Am I okay with time, Cristine?
Yes, you're still, you've got 10 more minutes.
Awesome. Okay, so then I'm going to give an example of a client that came to my office. This was a man. He was in his late 50s. He came to me because they didn't know what else to do with him. He had a lot of severe abdominal pain. He went to couple different GI doctors. They did upper and lower GI studies, could find nothing wrong with him. He had multiple ER appointments, and his doctor said, you need to just go do biofeedback. Because I don't think they knew what to do with him. They couldn't find anything wrong with him. So I hooked him up to biofeedback, and through our session, he started to tell me that he had childhood traumas that were really starting to become more active when his daughter got engaged. So he and I talked about those traumas can show up in these severe abdominal issues that he had and pain. So I went in, I ran some of the emotional panels for him for anxiety, for depression. Then I went in and I ran programs for digestion, gut microbiome. I ran connective tissue because we know that trauma is stored in connective tissues. Then he worked in conjunction with his talk therapist. I saw him for 5 sessions. It was 5 weeks. And every time he came, his pain got better and his digestive system was working better. And after the 5th session, he came and said, my pain is gone and I feel so much better. Do I need to come back? I said, no, I'm here if you need me. But that is a wonderful example of why someone would come to me. I see a lot of people for hormones. A lot of people are just exhausted. They're depressed. They can't function. And after a biofeedback session, it's not uncommon after the first one to get a great text to say, I feel lighter and better than I have in years. And that allows my clients then to start saying, I need to go on a walk. I need to meditate. I can eat healthier because they've gotten energy back that they didn't have. And, depending on why a client comes to me would be how long they would see me. Sorry, I went the wrong way. Some health benefits of biofeedback are they improve cellular health, reduces inflammation. We know that inflammation is part of pain and diet related to and stress, right? It identifies allergies. It can also reduce back pain, neck, migraine, joint pain. It's also can enhance nutritional absorption and detoxification, can balance our hormones. It can help improve stress resiliency. It can reduce anxiety and depression. It can enhance the immune system and the endocrine system. It can increase focus and concentration. It's great for insomnia. As we go in and look at the woman the first day talked about amino acids, and that's a panel that I have in my system that I'm going to really look at using more, especially as we look at tryptophan and other amino acids that can affect our emotions. But the biofeedback system has that, and it also does brainwave balance. So, in a quick nutshell, I've kind of talked about what biofeedback does. I hope you have a clear understanding of it, how it works with frequencies, different frequencies to go into optimize different organs and different systems in the body. And I love this picture because we know what's on the outside. We see the illness or the disease process, but I love that with biofeedback, I can go in and to restore that. Oftentimes with inflammation, with sleep, look at it, if there's any toxins in their body. There's a great detox in our biofeedback system for clients when their body is ready for it. And so we can look at the hidden causes or the root causes and then be able to see the long-term or benefits as they start to restore their body. And that is me in a nutshell. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Cristine, it is hard to explain biofeedback. So for me, if I can go in through and talk about the science, my clients love that. They're like, yes. Oh, I get that now. And then they themselves want to continue to explore, what does that mean? What is a frequency? What is energy?
Mm-hmm. So the way the biofeedback works, and a session is wonderful because it will create all those corrections and all those harmonic, alignments, frequency alignments. And just kind of a fun little addition to this is my experience. It wasn't fun. I'm going to tell you, I went through it with my youngest. She was, oh my gosh, she's my pride and joy. She was my full-time job. And it started with seizures when she was 3 years old. But when she was really small, we had to go into a hospital at, oh gosh, it was awful. I have a picture of her. She's just this little corn silk hair, and she was just a little towhead, and they had to take that hair, and it took 2 hours to put all the little electrodes, right? So they could do the EEG that night. And I couldn't let her sleep. So we got there at 10 o'clock at night, and I had to hold this little tiny person up and keep her awake all night long. Probably one of the worst nights of my life. And she was just so confused and she was so tired, and at the end of it, they didn't learn a darn thing. So they said, well, let's go do it for like days on end. And, you'll go to the University of Utah and the neurology department. And I said, no, thank you. And so what we did instead is we went to a biofeedback practitioner. One of the first things we did. And so that practitioner put frequencies into a bottle, and it's a lot like these ones that I have, just distilled water. And I don't know if you do this. Do you have I might have missed it if you talked about it, but transmitting the frequencies into a carrier? Do you have
You
that
know
option?
what? Yes, the technology will do that, but it's what's exciting when you were talking about your frequency formulas, that's not something I dwelled into. So I am very fascinated by doing that. I know a lot of other practitioners do that, but I'm
Yes.
fascinated to learn that.
So we had to go, it was like 6 hours away for this biofeedback session. I didn't know anybody closer. And so what she did is said, well, you're obviously not going to be able to come back. And so she programmed all those frequencies from that session into a bottle. And that became like the ongoing biofeedback session. And so my daughter, had the session, and then we went home and we gave her the drops like the next day, and that was kind of like she had another session. So it's just, I loved the technology of it, and that lends itself completely to what is in these formulas. So the concept is she got a personalized formula for that condition. But the different shift that the founder of the frequency formulas found is that if you take seizures, okay, and that might have all the frequencies that my daughter had in it, but there might be another 100 different things that she didn't need, right? And so those are all put into the formula. So it's like you go into a library, you find the section on seizures, and you get several books. And those are the books that you need for your body's shift. With her, it was blood sugar. It was structural. It was, there were several different things. And so then we did the formula. That was the first thing we did. And then that led us to the next thing, which one was diet, to be able to kind of detox her sugar balance, get her sugar balance in order, and detox her from things that might be contributing. And the other was structural. And so she went to, and it's just like it lined up after that. And that's the idea with the formulas, is that, and with biofeedback, and I'm sure you probably see this too, is like you start to create the alignment, and then that information field starts to say, oh, that's what we're supposed to do. Okay, well, we just need this, or we just need them, or we just want another, like piece. And it just starts to all come together. Once you correct it in the information field, you start to see it. Then it trickles down all to the body. That's where we want it to get to. But it's more complete than giving a pill to the body that just fixes the body temporarily, obviously, right? It's correcting the whole field information system. And that's what biofeedback does. Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
agree.
Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. It was fun to do. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So now, just as a little postlude, I'm gonna throw in a video from Quantum University. So, fun story is that Quantum University was originally going to be a biofeedback university. So the founder, Dr. Paul Druin, was a doctor in Canada. He discovered biofeedback as a doctor. He was, making sure people had access to that. He realized it was doing a whole lot more than anything he learned in as a doctor, right? And so he was going to create a whole university around training people in biofeedback technology. Well, then the movie What the Bleep Do We Know came out, and that came out in about 2004. And that's the thing that changed the course of his plans to become Quantum University. And so, okay, so I'm going to play a little video from my experience with that. And then we'll wrap this all up, because I got to be an alumni speaker, basically. So you should be able to hear it. I would say I'm from Cache Valley, Utah, Logan, Utah. It's where I went to get my master's degree in psychology at USU, Utah State University. And I'm still here in Cache Valley, so I guess it's as good a place as any. I grew up in different places, but Cache Valley is what I call home. And I had a private practice here in Logan as well for a while. I actually worked for a number of years in substance abuse. I have what's called a SUDC, a substance use disorder counselor background. And what was interesting about that field is that addictions are not really something you can treat medically successfully. There's some understanding of medicine that can apply to treating addictions. But in my training and my own experience, I have 35 years of recovery. And my experience was I changed overnight through a powerful spiritual awakening. Before that time, in my work with addicts and substance abuse, figuring out that there was a reason that people were using, there was a chemical imbalance to begin with. And to be able to correct that was, the challenge was finding how to correct that without something addictive, which really was the field of natural medicine, which was the field of nutrition and amino acid therapy and many of the things that I later learned in Quantum University as well. But I began my studies in what you would call a naturopathic kind of career before it was really even official to find some of these answers. I went on from there to a private practice, and that's where I brought it all together. So that's where I would say that my role in integrative mental health was official, as I identified some of these chemical imbalances in clients, helped them find solutions naturally. Part of what I was doing in my private practice was taking people through this emotional clearing process. I actually now have developed it and refined it and defined it and created something even new that is called 0-point meridian technique. So the 0 point was part of this journey, is understanding what is it that really calms the mind and allows that extra doing to slow enough that meditation's possible. And I developed this interest in the 0-point field. And so I kept searching for more information on the 0-point field. So all these things started to come together. So a little bit of Buddhism, a little bit of quantum entrainment, a little bit of energy healing, and I was ready for more. I started to explore, what am I going to do if I go beyond a master's degree? I always thought I was going to get a PhD in psychology, but I'd heard of Quantum University. So as I started to look at what is Quantum University about, it was about all those things. It was about working with the vital body. It was about 0-point fields. It was about the quantum solution. And it was obvious there was something there that was worth looking into further. I knew from the beginning I wanted to get a doctorate because I'd already had my master's in psychology. My goal was to get through my PhD, get it done, and I did. This was the miracle, was, it could take a while to get all the research and write the paper, but pretty much by shutting my doors and with quarantine, research was done, paper was written, and I was a graduate by September 1st of 2020. And so I had my doctorate in hand, and then it was like, now what? I loved the training part. I loved all the work that I'd done that year up to that point, and decided that's really all I wanted to do. So I actually took my 0-point meridian technique and made it, I got it through an international accreditation process so that the technique itself was accredited. And then I took the quantum wholeness meditation and created a community. And so now I have basically an academy model. So it's pretty much all online. It's, I train people for 4 months to a year to learn, and it depends on how far they want to go with it. So 4 months to a year of training, and students are getting the whole picture of, how does quantum wholeness meditation work? How do we do the healing process from neurochemistry all the way to information fields, and heal ourselves, but also start to heal others. It is very fascinating to combine all that together. It was an amazing experience, and that's really what Quantum University is about the spiritual all the way to the physical, and that as beings we are all that, and that once we can heal on every level and find the solutions on every level, it all works together, we can truly be healed. You don't hear the word healing in a psychology degree, and maybe not even much in medical degrees, I don't know, but the word healing is kind of reserved. It's not scientific, but it's very real. Someone knows when they've been healed. They pulled together so much stuff for that. we spent half a day on it, and 7 minutes now, but there's so much more, and this is the more, and you've been experiencing it, and some of you have been here like on day 4 and getting the pieces and seeing how it all fits together. And it is a progression model, absolutely. It is one that where you're at, maybe like there's a little bit from here that could be a building block or could be a foundation that you might have missed. And there's a lot more maybe here that is to come. So the frequency model itself is what we start to get into in frequency school. And we will put the link back up there, but we would love to have a conversation with you. If this is something that you feel like, and Robin gets to have a conversation with me, because we get to talk about like, what would it look like to, based on what she knows, based on where she's at, to add some other pieces, right? Like the formulas. And we do have a wholesale option. So it is something that practitioners can get trained in and add to what they're doing, and just another thing for their clients. So the clients have something accessible to benefit from. And, when they go on vacation, these are 1 ounce bottles. They actually go on, they can go in your carry-on and, and you can't get a biofeedback session for a little bit. You can have some, some support in different areas. So there we go. There's lots, but, okay. Oh, also the conscious intervention scale, I do want to mention that is one of those things I'm going to get published, and the goal is to be able to measure consciousness, like Carrie talked about, in our interventions. Like, are we raising consciousness? Are we implementing things? And I loved how Carrie laid that out. Like, the level 4 and 5 stuff is what we should be measuring in psychology, not disease, not the level, like we want to know, like, is the bad stuff gone? Well, that's the wrong way to look. If we look in the direction of where we want to go, that's where we end up, really. And that's why holistic medicine and alternative health are, to me, like, they're the thing that's going to stick. Whereas I think a lot of our Western medicine practices are going to have to, we're going to slough off what isn't really working. I believe that. As a people, I feel like we are progressing. That's the good news, right? Okay. So, so I'm going to introduce in just a minute, I'm going to introduce our final presenter, which I'm going to share the stage with. And I have a team. I want to emphasize that. I have a team of people that keep this motion, keep the movement of this. It is a movement. It is a movement towards a higher consciousness approach to mental health. And it's so necessary. And I have not been able to do all of it, or a lot of it, alone. And I'm going to talk about like one of the most important people that showed up to get this to where it needs to go. I have a whole team though. Tamara's really kind of part of our team. She's been part of what we're offering in the Love Solve Academy. I have new people here that I can see being part of a team. Our team shifted, and this has been quite a week. And I had one of our members drop off, which was our marketing person, and we brought in a new person, and he's actually part of our sales team. And so I don't like sales. I'm going to say that is not my favorite thing. I like conversations. I like educating people. And so I really struggled. It was like, my whole team is like, okay, Cristine, just let go. Like, where's your block? Just let go. And he's already doing a great job. So I just want to tell people who are on here, if you get a call from Mike's a good guy. He's a sweetheart. He's our newest member of our team. He's a call setter. And it's not something that I've explored before, but we're bringing him in so that we can connect more. with people. And so I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Sweet Mike. So first thing I heard about him is that he had to adjust his schedule so he could take his daughter to school. And I just thought this is a cute guy. And he's like real and he's down to earth. And I'm going to tell you just one other thing. Let's see. Let me find my right spot. He is a proud father of 2 amazing kids, a joyful, outgoing person who loves connecting with people. I'm always eager to learn more about business and life. It keeps me motivated and excited for what's ahead. So anyway, it's nice when frequencies shift. That is one thing you'll see is that some people shift out and other people shift in. And that's, I don't know if Carrie talked, I think she kind of mentioned that, like things, as you advance in that, your environment matches it. And some of that can be people in your life. It can be jobs. It can be like, and I think we hear stories about, letting go of a long-term career, like in special education, right? And then going into something that's more of holistic or more of a higher frequency solution for the world. So that's what our team is about. And I just wanted to let you know a little bit about us. Harley is also on our team. I don't know if she can say hi. She's my writer and she holds things together. And Harley has a total story of shifting her frequency while working with me. She's been with me for over a year. She is a testimonial of frequency formulas. She is a testimonial of the Love Solve method and of 0 Point Meridian. And so she's taken in the tools and using them in her life, and I see it and she sees it, and it's amazing. So let's see if anybody else is on here. Joanne, oh my gosh, we can't forget Joanne. So you may have met her yesterday when she came in and she spoke about the miracle, the 1%. And Joanne's been with me the longest of all of my team players. She has been the motivation. Well, she's held the space. That is what she has done. She has held the space for the higher frequency. And I can tell if we're off track if Joanne starts having issues. She is like a little calibration tool. And my heart goes out to her. I hope she watches later because I think she's taking care of her mom. But I know like if we're not high enough frequency, Joanne's going to suffer. And it's like, it is a motivator so that we have to up level. And if we start to go kind of off course, like she feels it. She's so highly sensitive. And so, so she's a big part too. And Annie, I want to just take a moment to, oh my gosh, that woman. I don't know how many people know this. Probably not a lot, mostly my team. Her brother died on Sunday. And she has shown up for us despite everything that's going on in her world, because something that happens with higher consciousness is that life still happens and you can stay centered. So she was not in an undertow. She cried. She came on sometimes after just having lost it. And she was fully here yesterday. And it's like I observed her get through a difficult test. And I recognize it. Absolutely. And so these are the kind of people that I feel so blessed to surround myself with. And they have gotten me through a week that has probably made the book, which is where I will head next.